Okay, so this is the slide lock. I'm gonna just do the base plate today, and then I'll work through this portion of it with you on the next video. But this is just focusing on this base plate. Now, sometimes you have to deduce the width. This one's more simple because you really just have to add the width of this up. You have this length here, but you'll need to add these up. And so just keep that in mind that it's not always 100% straightforward. Sometimes you have to deduce it. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is make a rectangular base plate. So let's do a new one so you can see it from the beginning. Okay, and we're going to call this slide lock. Okay. So once that loads, we're going to decide on which face we want, and this time I'm just going to use the front. So I'm going to turn everything off but the front, and I'm going to turn it to the front. I'm going to zoom out a bit because it's going to be a lot bigger than it looks right now. So I'm going to select the front, and then I'm going to change my sides here to 80, enter. So we got to zoom out. And this one's going to be 40, enter. Okay, then the next thing we need to do, if you look at this, is that you have these little radiuses and you have these circles. They're through, okay, because this would be attached to a door or a gate or something. So first thing we'll do is the radius. Okay, so that's pretty simple. You'll come and get this sketch and you'll select your two lines. It'll automatically give you a radius. You can double click on that if it's not the right number. It's supposed to be 5 and enter. And then you'll have the same thing down here. It'll automatically do it. Just press enter, click your two lines. It'll say the radius that you're giving it and enter. Okay. Now, because you have that center point of that radius, you can put your circles in pretty easy. So just draw them out, each one. Okay. And then, oh, not that big. Didn't click. I did click you there. Okay. So now we can just make all of these the right size. 4. Select 4. In here. Okay, I'm just trying to be quick about it. Okay, so now I have this base plate and I want to go ahead and just extrude it. Okay, and it'll automatically pick a side, usually up, but we don't want it to be 1, we want it to be 5. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to say, okay, my extrude looks good. So now I'm going to go back to the front again. And on this, I am going to do a sketch. I want it to be on the top plate of this. And I'm going to do center lines on this, across this plate. Oops, that's not where I want it. I want it right there. And then I'm going to do another one here. All the way down to here. Okay, there's your center. Now what we can do is we can select this line and say, sure, enter 17.5. And then I'm going to offset it again to the other side and I'll show you. Good, 17.5. Oh, no. Offset this one in that direction, enter 17.5. I didn't look up, so not this direction. Gosh darn it. I got a lot of lines over here that I'm not happy with. I gotta go back. Some of those extra lines over here. And I'm not annoyed. Okay. I'm not sure why it's being difficult. So if I did this and I select that, I should be able to say enter and say 17.5. Thank you. Finally did it. Okay, I'm happy with that. Offset again, and this one, I'm going to press enter and I'm going to say 10. And then I'm going to offset the whole line, offset back on. And I want it to go the other direction this time, enter, and it's going to go 10. Okay, so now I kind of this grid. And the reason I did that is because I want these to be 20 and I want this to be 35. So 17.5 is half, and I had a center line, okay, of 35, and the same here. So now I can easily put in some of my rectangles. So 1, 2. Okay. Now I've got to get, these are my 2 rectangles here. Hopefully they place themselves correctly without showing up, which makes me a bit concerned, but we'll figure that out in a minute. The next one I want to offset would be over here, and I want it to go in that direction, and I want it to go 10 over. And then the same thing with this guy. Other direction, enter 10. Okay. And I should be able to make a rectangle. And then, oh, I see what happened over here. And then I'll make a rectangle. Sometimes I forget, and maybe you do too, that I can't just assume that it's doing what I want it to do. Click and drag. Click and drag your rectangles. That's better. Click and drag. Okay, so see the blue? Keeps getting hidden. But I should be able to, turn off my tools. Some of these lines I don't need. Okay, and if it's a full length line, you should be able to just highlight it and delete it. Okay, instead of using the trim tool. That way it'll go quicker for you. Okay, and we put in rectangles, so okay. Now I have these. Oh, this doesn't need to exist. Okay, can go away. That goes away. Okay, so now let's look at it like this. Okay, so I want to do an extrude, and I'm actually going to just extrude all of those. And let's do 15. Oh, I didn't do this one. 15. Okay, good. And I'm happy with that. I'm going to leave it. That's my first extrude. And you see, the one thing you have to be careful of with this program is that it integrates completely when you do it. So now what I need to realize is, let me see if I can just do a face extrude on this, which I think I can if I do both of these. Yeah. And I want that to go up an extra 5. Okay. Enter. Okay, perfect. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I want to round these corners out. So if you look at it from this side here, the big one has a radius of 10 and the small has a radius of 5. It basically ends up making this a half circle. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to select my edge only. It's going to give me a teeny radius, but I don't want that. I want 10. Just select it, enter. It should happen for you. And then it won't default. Whoops. If it doesn't keep it on, then it didn't default. And sometimes it just does weird things on its own. I'm sure it's not completely weird on its own. It's just not doing what I want it to. So I'm just going to call it weird. So now I'm going to do the same thing here. I want a 10. And I'm going to enter. Okay, good. And the same detail with the fillet tool. On this one, make sure you decide on the thing, on the radius, and press 10. Now remember, I wanted these to be 5. So I'm going to hit this. I believe I can just do all 4 of them at the same time. And that would make my life a lot easier. All of them, I want to have 5. And voila, there they are. Okay. So now we have this. Okay. So if you look at it, we're getting there, right? The last thing I need is to get this circle cut out. Okay. So what we have to realize about that is, if you look here on this side, the center point of all these circles is up 15. So if it's up 15, that means the center point of your circle is 15 from the bottom. So the other thing we need to realize is that I'm going to sketch on this face. We should be able to use the center point of the arc, which is nice. And we want to make sure this circle is 8. Okay, that's the diameter we want. So then we're going to extrude it. Now, what you have to remember to do is say remove, because you're going to make a hole. Okay, and you should be able to drag this little guy all the way through, like the press pull tool almost. So you can get your arrow and drag it all the way through. If you had a specific depth you needed it, you would need to put in the number, okay? And press enter, and now you should have your full base plate, okay? So that's all it is to the base plate. And so once you have that, we can start working on the other. So I hope that helps.